You're listening to the Uncovered Podcast. It's a show full of conversation on relationships and marriage that will challenge our traditions, our beliefs, and our outcomes, ultimately leading us to a place of clarity, of thought, and restored hope. Thank you for joining us. My name is Will, and with me is my beautiful wife, Jessica, a.k.a. Lady J.
Hello.
What's going on? Also, the sister I never had, her name is Miss Brenda.
Hey, hey, hey.
And we have the one and only Eddie Rivera.
Here I am. Hey, hey, hey.
Eddie Rivera is a marriage therapist and family counselor. We're family here, and we want to welcome you to the show. What's up? You guys feeling good?
We feeling good.
Yeah, boy. Feeling right is feeling right. Well, man, we had an awesome podcast. If you didn't check it out, make sure you go back and listen to the one right before this. But this is going to be part two. Part two of what, man? What was that?
Woo. It was fire.
It was plain fire.
So
man.
the first part of it, or actually the entire podcast, has to do with family and how we sever, how we choose to sever. What we've titled it is "You Can't Pick Your Family, but you can manage them."
Wow.
And I think that goes as well as relationships. So sometimes we don't pick our relationships. Right. They just happen.
They just come into your lives,
right.
man.
But you can choose to manage them.
Yeah.
Right. So in the last podcast, we went to some analogies that y'all came up with, the skunk and the turtle. You remember that?
Yeah.
I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I was listening to another, I think it was a sermon, and they were talking about relationships, and he mentioned the two, the skunk and the turtle.
So the skunk is what?
Well, the skunk is the personality. So if you just tuned in, it's just, these are personalities in our lives, whether they're friends or families. And the skunk is the one that always comes in a room and for whatever reason stinks up the place. Man.
Blows it up.
You know that if they come to the party, the wedding, or the Christmas party, they're going to, if you invite them, it may happen in the first hour. It may happen in the last hour. But for whatever reason, they're going to make it about them. It's a very selfish thing.
Drama.
The turtle is the one that actually hides, doesn't want to confront, doesn't want to take the time. They feel like, oh, it's not worth it to have that tough conversation. So I wanted to ask you, what makes you a turtle or a skunk? Attitude or...
Good question.
That's a real good question. Dr. Bishop. Okay, for me, a turtle, it's someone that doesn't want to face reality, doesn't want to confront. Yeah. Is a person that's non-confrontational, which that's okay if you're that way. If you're listening, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Right. You just need to know how to manage that, so it's in your best interest. That's another podcast. The skunk usually is a person that has had a lot of issues and they've never solved them. And because they've never solved them, the reason that they act up and they smell, right? And they leave residue of who they are. That usually is about past experiences, dealing with disappointments, dealing with abuse, dealing with hurt, dealing with struggles, dealing with, we go down the line.
Right.
Just unresolved issues.
Unresolved issues, period. Right. And so they don't feel like they're heard, so they make an entrance and they make sure that you know that they're there. A lot of them will be intentional about ramping themselves up so that when they arrive, they make that statement.
Wow.
Because they're still hurting.
Is there insecurity involved there a little bit?
There's a lot of insecurity.
Layers, probably.
Yeah, it's a lot of things.
And we all have these type of people around us, near us.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And so, like, the big question of this podcast, which is the part 2 of it, we've been talking about you can't pick your family, but you can manage them. How do we manage them? Like, let's roll up the sleeves and work. Let's work in this podcast to help people all around the world listening. How do we deal with uncle, auntie, deal, titi, whatever culture you're from?
Dad, sister, brother. It's just.
Yeah. Very carefully.
Yeah.
Very carefully. Obviously, you should already know who they are, what they've been up against, and what you've been dealing directly with the issues that they make with you. And it's not always the same with everyone in the marriage or in the family and the relationship. Sometimes it can just be you. Sometimes it can just be pops. It can be mom. It could be. Right. So it's not necessarily that they're going after everyone, right? It might be a jealousy thing. It might be an inheritance thing. It might be envy.
Oh.
It might be that, that they're mad at the world because you drive what you drive. You've achieved what you achieve. Right. You are who you are. You know who you know.
Yeah, some people like that are single look at a married person with kids and flourishing. Yeah, they just look at that. Yeah, they want it, and so it makes them react and act a certain way towards you or other couples.
So knowing firsthand what you're dealing with and what you're up against is the first step.
Okay,
right? Because if it's, and I'll say this, if it's that you're dealing with someone that's bipolar and they don't take their meds, and you know that, then there's a way to deal with that.
Okay.
Right? So you know what the best strategy is to deal with that person. Right? If you know that person is angry at the world because of something that happened in their childhood and you know about it, then you know how to best deal with that. See what I'm getting at?
There's no one fit all type of solution.
No, there's not.
Because you have different family members and you have to treat, right? Is that how it goes?
Yeah. You almost need to be a clinical psychologist to deal with certain people. But not. The simplest takeaway is that it's got to be done with compassion. It's got to be done with a true sense of wanting to be a part of that person's life. Yeah. Right. So that's on the surface, and making sure that you put yourself in the best position possible. That when you walk away, you don't lose sleep. Right. You're not angry. You're not frustrated. You're not, because that's everybody. Right. It could be the cashier at the store that every time you see her,
oh man,
it's just, there's some people that just kind of, we might be their trigger. The way we smell, the way we look.
Let's give you something to work with, because Justin and I, we have a friend. Maybe you can help me just kind of paint this for him, and he can help. Maybe somebody out there is dealing with this. We have a friend that has somebody that's part of their family, and they recently had to make a tough choice, because every time this person was coming to his house, they was kind of wreaking havoc, and they weren't staying within the boundaries of what should be,
And it's something that's gone for years, so it's not something that just started recently. They dealt with it for years. It's become a cycle, and so they've gotten to the point where I've had it. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. You're no longer welcomed here.
Yeah, he said he allows him to come into the house, and then he'll do whatever he wants, like his own house, which is being disrespectful to, our friends, and we had to sit there. Obviously, we're not like you, with certified and all that. So we're sitting there like, what is answered? But they had to make a tough decision. And sometimes in life, you have to make that tough decision in order to, when it becomes so toxic, right? If you want to speak to that.
Yes. Boundaries, the environment at home, that is something that's off limits to outsiders, whether they're family members or not, to violate when they come in. So same subject, but a little different in how we handle it. So, you being the man of the house, the priest of the home, you setting the standard, the boundaries, and the ethical way that people will come into your home and behave, right?
Right.
When somebody violates that, whether it's mom, dad, sister, brother, it needs to be addressed.
Right.
Because what you put up with, you're going to have to live with.
Right. That's good.
You can't complain about what you allow.
Loud, exactly.
That's good.
Bingo.
Drop the bomb from my brother.
So, not only are we allowing that, and then we're complaining, right, when that person leaves, we're also empowering and we're feeding that person, and we're allowing that person to come back and do it over and over and over.
There goes that word again, enabling.
And we enable them.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Now, I bet that your friend and his spouse is saying, we should have done this 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
It would have saved us a bunch of grief,
Heartache.
a bunch of heartache, a bunch of just stuff.
Yep.
Why is it like we talked about it a little bit in the last episode, but let's connect it all together. It's so hard to say no and to make that decision. Like, why do we, as human beings, some of us, because there's some other people that, my wife is like that. She cuts cancer. She sees the cancer. She cuts it. Me, my personality is I take it and take it and take it until one day I'm like, I've had it, you know, and maybe a lot of our listeners are that way. Why? We're all like kind of wired differently, you know.
We're definitely wired differently. And we all have a different type of tolerance. Some of us tolerate more than others. I know women tolerate more pain than men. That's why we don't give birth.
That makes sense.
That's right.
We're not
Aplauso para las mujeres.
We'll take it.
For the ladies.
So
Round of
listen.
applause.
I don't like pain.
Yeah.
I'm built for comfort. Although I've been through some pain, but my wife, when those things happen, she looks at me like, suck it up, bro.
Suck it up, buttercup.
Well, you call me Tulip?
Tulip.
Sometimes she says, oh, Tulip.
Get it together.
So we all tolerate things differently, whether it's from our kids, from whatever. So that has a little bit to do with it. Shame on us that we fear to address someone that we might respect, but we might fear them more, and then we're ashamed to say something to them, and they come in and wreck our house. They eat our food, they drink our drinks, they throw stuff on the floor, they make, and then they want to stay whenever they want to stay, even if we don't say anything, and they come and invite it. We've had those things happen.
Yes, we have,
as well. But see, I'm less tolerant when it comes to what happens in my home.
Right.
And this is why, because I've got an investment here. I've got an investment of a lifetime when it comes to how the atmosphere in my house is set.
Wow.
So
That's so
we live to cater to people. Right? We live to serve people. What we have is not just for us. So we take care of our stuff. We make sure that when you walk in through this house, when you walk to this house, in this house, that it smells good, that it's clean, right? That it reflects who we are.
Right.
We're not going to allow anyone else to come in here and to do whatever they want and jump on our counters.
Right.
And if you're listening to me and you got baby kids, our house is not designed for baby kids.
Come
It is
on.
not.
Because our kids are grown. We love kids. We've got a nephew. We got a granddaughter now, but she gonna learn. She gonna learn today.
And it's something about your home that most definitely that you go to work, you're tired, or you go to church or school, whatever you're doing in life, and you have so many different struggles out there. The last thing you want to do is have struggle out there and then come home and have more struggle.
Right.
So I think that's what marriages and relationships, we have to work on keeping that place a peaceful, a joyful place that I know that when I get home, I just have that feeling of no place like home.
Peace.
Yeah.
But a lot of marriages, there's some guys, they'll take the overtime so they don't have to come home.
Oh, that's a whole box of stuff.
Because there's no peace, and
Yes, sir.
And it's a culture you cultivate. And that's, I think, what Jess was trying to say last episode is if we say no, then, you don't have to go through that dysfunction and through those things. What do you think?
No is no.
Now.
We used to have this friend, right? That wouldn't allow people to meet at their house. Right?
Oh, yeah. And I actually love that.
We love that.
Because instead of bringing someone into your safe haven, that place of security for your family, you take them to a neutral place.
That's why we don't ever get invited to the house.
No,
We gotta
Where's
meet
the bomb at? Where's the bomb at?
we gotta meet at the corner racetrack. No, I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
It's
I'm
a joke,
teasing.
y'all. It's a joke.
But I'm listening to
But
you.
everybody else, yes, we will meet at a Starbucks.
But I'm listening to you say that. But then I look at what he just said. They like to cultivate their home for
But I mean, don't get us wrong. We don't just invite anybody to our house.
Right,
No,
come on.
that doesn't happen.
That's the boss right there.
We obviously have to know the person in
That's
the
right.
first 4 minutes. No,
That's
the
good.
fun fact.
Yeah.
We have to know the person before we invite
Of
them into our
course.
home. There's no way I'm inviting just anybody. No. So that's why we feel comfortable with inviting,
That's good.
Yeah.
opening our home.
That's good.
It's funny how we went from speaking about a family member, outside a cousin, a brother, a sister, and then you brought it into the marriage, and everything that we're talking about can also exist in relationships, right?
Right.
So one of us can be a skunk.
All right, bring it back.
One of us can have baggage where we're always upset.
Wow.
And come through our door and be disruptive.
Yeah.
That's a kangaroo.
Oh, Lord.
Drop the bomb for Brenda. Es un how do you say it in Spanish though? Kangaroo. Kangaroo. Cangrejo. No, you're a kangaroo.
Kangaroo?
Kangaroo.
And why kangaroo? Because it got a pouch.
It got a pouch with a baggage. And it
Ooh.
will be.
Come on, Bishop B.
I like that.
Un aplauso
That
para
was that
Brenda.
revelation.
Oh,
All right.
She got the revelation.
A lot of kangaroos out there.
Listen,
Ooh.
Ooh, Lord. I like
Jesus.
That got real deep real quick. Because you guys ever, when you meet couples, it happens with us, man, 24 years, where she really likes the wife. Like, oh, man, she could see herself being good friends. But then the husband is,
Oh, yeah.
Like, what's she doing with that fool?
yeah. He's like, maybe he's the skunk,
Yeah.
and maybe he just kind of stinks it up, and you want to hang out with them and everything, and then the word you used the other day was like, I don't feel like babysitting.
I know.
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
Wow.
So take a look at your marriage. and hopefully not one of y'all is, because when it comes to couples, like in relationships, you want to have the pleasure of being in great company from both parties, and you don't want to have to manage.
Yeah, no nonsense, no drama, no nonsense.
Yeah.
And it's for those of you wherever you're at in the world that you're listening, there is such a thing as couples that exist that are no nonsense.
Yeah.
That are low drama, low maintenance.
Yep.
That are not perfect, but they already know the importance of relationships and marriages, and the importance of respecting each other and having boundaries and dealing with the things that need to be dealt with and solving the issues that are at hand and not throwing everything under the rug. And so, I think that the takeaway here, one of the takeaways should be, hey, how do we solve this? How do we put this topic behind us and go through life making memories instead of making nightmares?
Ooh,
we're going to come back with that one.
I like that.
Yes.
This is the part of the show where we like to give a few fun facts.
Yes.
Lady J, and we call it If You Don't Know, well, now you know. So Lady J, give us one.
All right, guys. I got a good one.
Okay.
All right. Anybody in pain?
Yes.
Headache? Back pain?
Yes.
All right, you're going to like this one. So cuddling releases natural painkillers.
I got something
You
for
need
you,
some
girl.
cuddling,
need
girl.
cuddling.
I'll take some cuddling.
Oh, love kisses.
Are you still in pain?
No, I'm much better.
Okay.
Wow, that was quick.
That was quick.
That's healing.
Yo, guys, it really works. All right. Are you ready for number 2?
We're ready.
Okay. Romantic love eventually ends, only to be followed by committed love. Ooh.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
Think
That's
about
good.
that. Committed
Repeat that
love.
one more time for those that didn't
So
get it.
romantic love eventually ends. So all that little honeymoon stage, only to be followed by committed love. That's that mature love.
Yeah.
Well,
That grown folk.
we love those fun facts.
I love that.
Because if you don't know, well, now you know. We also like to take a minute to say thank you to our proud sponsors and partners. We're going to give a shout out to Bridgework Counseling. Eddie, can you tell us a little bit about Bridgework Counseling and how people can connect with them?
Absolutely. Bridgework Counseling is a counseling service, family counseling service that I head with my wife, Brenda. And what we do is we do a lot of family counseling, family crisis counseling. We do premarital and marital counseling. And we're about to open that up. And in 2021, we're going to be dealing with things like an abusive past, abuse of drugs and alcohol, temperaments and anger management and all of that good stuff. So you can look us up. Our website is bridgeworkcounseling.com. bridgeworkcounseling.com, or you can hit us up at bridgeworkcounseling@gmail.com if you have any requests and you need our services.
Well, we also want to give you guys an opportunity to email us, and you can email us, our team at uncoveredpodcast.org.
Yes, sir.
Again, this is the Uncovered Podcast, and our email is team@uncoveredpodcast.org. And one last shout out, this song you're hearing.
Hey.
Hey!
This is our son Zamar. So we want to send a shout out to him. You love this song, bro, right?
It's my favorite song, man.
It's the bomb.
Y'all look this kid up. Look him up and his whole family. His mama's all right. His daddy's all right, but they are fly.
Zamar was kind enough to partner up with us for the soundtrack of our podcast. So
Absolutely.
We want to send him a shout out. If you can, stop the podcast, go over to Spotify and look up ZVMVR. ZV is in Victor, MVR, that's Zamar. And you're going to get to hear his latest music and get notifications on that. So proud of that, man. So let's get back to this topic because it's really, really, really deep right now. And I want to talk about really quick, switch it up. Like, so you're teaching us how to manage, right, these relationships that can be challenging to handle. Can we think about it the other way? What is life like? Just to remind some of us that what is life like when you have managed these relationships? Like, what's the opposite? Because a lot of us haven't been there a lot.
Oh. One word.
What?
Peace. Wow. Peace. Peaceful. Yes. Peaceful. So no drama. Yeah. No nonsense. And absolutely peace within the family. You still disagree.
Right.
But you do it respectfully, and there's a sense of peace. So when you look at each other and you find each other and you run into each other, you're not ducking or you're not speaking underneath your breath. Blah, 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 you know, low life, blah, 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 blah. You don't do that.
Right.
Because it's resolved.
That's good. That's really good.
What do you think?
I have a question.
Oh, here we go.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you're dealing with toxic, either family members or someone, you know, that you're in a relationship with, whether it's a friend, husband, sometimes it can be husband or wife, or it can be, you know, someone from the outside. How do you show love and compassion with boundaries?
Man, we're making you work this episode.
That's a real good question.
You got a magic carpet? You're like a genie in a bottle here.
Rub me the right way.
I love it.
Isn't that what Christina said?
Christina Hootman.
You're like, hold on.
Wow, that's a loaded question. I think that regardless of what we feel, and what we have set as standards, we need to go beyond expectation from us, from this side,
right,
to whoever it is. A lot of times we're dealing with people that need to be assisted by a visual on top of a verbal.
Wow.
And I think
that's good.
That when we're dealing with our kids, for instance, our teens, or older kids, I think that applies more in that situation. And I've always said, when something is alarming, when something is a red flag, right? When something is very pressing, stop the world.
Yes, that's good. Because sometimes we're so busy in life, right, guys?
Yes.
That we see the red flag.
And we let it go by.
We know they crossed the boundary. You know, we know that we set up rules in place. Rules are set up in place, like in our marriage, to protect us.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes time is just going. Or I remember, you know, a while back, we needed a ride. You know, our car wasn't working and she needed to get to work, you know, and we had certain rules in place to protect us,
right?
You know, and that's when we broke our own rules because time. But when we see the red flags, sometimes we just ignore them, but we should really, right?
Yeah. It always comes back to you.
Right.
If you don't take care of that, that'll take care of you.
Now or later?
Now or later.
That's
like,
so
you know, the little candies that we used to, well, y'all too young for that.
Now later.
Now later. Y'all remember that?
Nah.
You want one now or later?
Will's like, nah, I don't know what you're talking about. You don't know about Mary Jane's either, right?
Ooh, I love
or
Mary.
Squirrels. No, none of that.
No, mine was Boston baked beans. So I don't know about
God.
that. Back in the day. Throwback. Sorry.
So we have to make sure that when we bring our point across, that we use every aspect of our senses and our intention in bringing our point across.
That's so good, bro. So good.
Because a lot of us are visual, and a lot of us are audio.
Right.
You know, we get it. If we hear something, we get it. But like for me, I'm both. Yeah. So it helps me to learn visual and audio, right? And audible. Yeah. So when Brenda wants to get my attention and point and get her point across, she'll look at me and say, "Look at me."
Does she do the neck thing?
Right.
That comes stock with Latinas.
So now I'm
I can't.
Sorry, bro. Oh yeah.
We got to throw that in there.
Her Rosie Perez.
Oh God.
You remember her?
I love Rosie.
Rosie's awesome.
So you crazy.
So when you stop the world the way that that's how I describe it, which is time out.
Yeah.
Stop everything.
Yeah.
Right now, this is of utter importance. Give me your undivided attention.
A turtle doesn't want to do that, though.
No.
They rather deal with it later.
They hide.
And maybe think it's going to go away. But just as you said earlier, that no matter how long, it's still there.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And we have to deal with it, right?
And the reality is that regardless of your belief system, of your ideologies, that's not going to solve what you need to solve.
Right.
You have to make sure that when you address something urgently, that there is a resolution, a solution, that something is resolved, right? And this is free. This part's free.
Okay.
Right? If you can't resolve it, negotiate it.
Oh, wow. Drop that right there. Drop the bomb.
So, ladies,
if you say it one more time.
If you can't resolve it, if you can't get to a resolution, then negotiate it.
Give us an example.
All right. So you guys were talking about where to eat the other day, and you were fighting. You're the one that's hungry. Where do you want to eat? I think that's common for every couple, whether you're dating, that's common. At some point, you're in the car, and the girl says, "Hey, I'm hungry." This and that. And
what you want to eat, babe?
What you want to eat?
I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Well, what do you want to eat?
What about Wendy's? It's right there.
No, I don't like it. Well, I don't want it.
What about? Oh, I'm not going to name stuff. If they're not sponsors.
If they ain't paying, they ain't staying.
You better bleep, bleep.
But Wendy's, if you're listening, we'd love some burgers. So anyway, that is a common thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what we've done, although we don't have to do it often, when we can't resolve, we'll say, okay, let's do this. We'll eat this today, but tomorrow I want this.
That's good.
Or I'll pick today,
and
the next time you pick.
That's good.
Right? What you're doing is you're ending the conflict. And as much as you don't want to think that that's a conflict, it's a conflict because you're believing one thing, you're thinking one thing, and the other person is thinking another.
Wow.
And then you're saying no.
Right.
And then you're saying, okay, well, yes.
So we become win-win.
So it's a win. Anytime you negotiate your way through life, you're going to win because you're always going to get what you expect.
That's good.
Right?
Tweet
so you don't you don't ever get what you expect when you don't negotiate. Mm-hmm. So if I tell you today, hey, come over and let's do something in the house, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, she's going to charge me, right? And then I say that when you come to the house, I say, well, Jess, is this going to cost me anything? And you say, oh, whatever you want. Don't worry. Whatever you want.
Yeah.
You know, you just, I love doing life with you guys and I love you guys.
That's for real, y'all.
Right?
Well, that's expectations, though, right?
Yes.
That's good, though.
Here we go.
Here we
Come
go.
on.
But then we got you here,
Right.
right? Working 5-6 hours, going up the stairs, down the stairs, helping either clean the floors upstairs or doing whatever. And we're all doing it, right? And then you come downstairs and I suggest, man, thank you. And I give you a $5 card to Starbucks. You get in your car and you got to drive an hour home. What are you thinking about me that you're not saying out
Dang,
loud?
I'm like, dang. That coffee's good, pero no tengo gasolina.
I have no gas. Yeah. I can't believe that.
It's so cheap.
You know, look at where they live. And he gave me $5. Right?
Yep.
Now, you're upset. You're disappointed. You leave. I stay here, and I'm saying, man, she did a great job, man. We got to bring her here more often. For
$5 gift card.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Right? Now look at the different scenario.
Yeah.
Right.
Now you say to me, when I ask you say to me, well, what's your budget? What do you need me to do?
Right.
Well, let's do this. If it's 5 hours, I lost 5 hours of my, I'd love to help you out. I'm going to help you out. This is what we're going to do. Give me $100. Can you give me $100? Is that cool? And I say to you, how about 80? All I got is $80 cash. At that point, if you can say one of two things, you can say, okay, give me the 80, right? And then when you see me next time, give me the other 20 and we're cool. And I said, cool, right? 5 hours later, you get in your car, you got an hour drive, and you're not thinking about what I paid you.
Right.
You got $80 in your pocket and I owe you 20.
Right.
You see the difference?
Big difference. I'm like, and where's that Starbucks $5 card? No.
So what
24 years. 24 years.
You want to say a prayer right now?
Run, Will, run.
No.
Therapy cannot help, brother. Let me ask you a question. Wait, no, finish your point.
But let me finish this.
Yeah.
So we switched over to negotiating, but what I'm trying to get at is that when you negotiate, you protect your heart.
Right.
Because there's no way that you're going to allow indifference
That's good.
to enter your mind and your heart, because then that's going to affect you and I.
How's that work with family? Give a high overview on that.
It's the same thing with family. Family does it worse because family always wants things and expect things for free.
Right.
And I feel that with family, when their irresponsibility becomes our responsibility, and that sucks.
Wow.
That's a burden.
That was pretty deep.
Yeah.
It is, and so we have to negotiate our way
Yeah.
around that as well.
Wow.
Because you look a certain way to family, they looking at you like a dollar sign,
Yeah.
right? But because they were irresponsible, at some point, that burden comes back to haunt you.
And I think friends go away, but families stay.
Yeah.
You're
Families forever.
You're not. I don't know if you want to use stuck, but
No, you're
can't
stuck.
trade
You know
them
why
in.
you're stuck? I'll say it. You know why you stuck? Because they duplicate themselves. So now you're not dealing with the cousin. You're dealing with the second cousin, the third cousin. And they have 10 kids, and you know they multiply.
Or the wife or husband of that relative, and
Yeah.
I got a question. We're running out of time here, but Eddie, I'm going to read you Marilyn Monroe quote. She says, "Cutting negative people from my life does not mean I hate them. It simply means I respect me."
Come on, Marilyn. I didn't know she said
So,
something like that,
if
but
you-
that's
Pretty amazing.
that's on point.
If you guys know me, I always like to balance the conversation. So in one breath, we're saying, well, we got to give people a pass. We got to love. We got to
Come on now.
forgive. But in the same type of balance it's a way of life, man.
Yes, sir.
You have to protect you in some senses from the dysfunction that you're surrounded by.
Correct.
But again, you bottom line it, you still manage it.
You manage it. I always say to her, aren't you worth it?
Wow.
Aren't you worth it? So the question to you, the listener, is if you're dealing with any dysfunction, any issues of family acting up, of relationships that are astray, that are dysfunctional, that are broken. My question to you, aren't you worth everything in the world for you not to feel the way you feel right now? Aren't you worth it? Aren't you worth working it out so you can sleep good at night?
Right.
Right? Aren't you worth negotiating what you need to negotiate and put your ego aside? Come on, we got to talk about egos. Put your ego aside to make sure that you can put yourself in a position that you can manage that relationship or those relationships.
That's so good.
I'm trying to figure out how we got through this whole conversation without speaking about narcissism at all. But
we don't
this
want
is-
to go there.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing.
Absolutely.
But valuing, I mean, you said it, like identity, like
Identity
knowing.
and knowing your value. Very, very important. And when you do not know your value, you allow insecurity to come in, you know.
Absolutely. And a lot of today's culture and the generation, my generation, the generation before mine, suffered an identity crisis, an identity blow because they weren't affirmed the way they should have been.
Wow.
They were neglected because their parents always had to work. They were providers.
Right.
And we can have this conversation
Yeah.
forever. And so the way that they feel valued is to provide, right? But they lack value and esteem. They lack value in being cherished and being appreciated and being loved, because it's very easy for me to be a provider and provide, but when I'm never here, right, then where I lose is in boundaries and respect. Since I'm always absent,
Yeah.
my children live that. And so it doesn't matter if they live in $1 million house, right? And they have everything they want. They don't have me, so they don't value me. They take me for granted. So there's a lot to
Wow.
unpack in
Yes,
all of
that's
this
so good.
stuff, man.
There's so much to cover. Let's try to visit that in a future podcast, because
Absolutely.
that's very interesting, and I think that will help our listeners out.
Yep.
Put a bow tie on this, man. So what did we learn? What did we cover? And that way, because we're running out of time here.
Well, learning to manage our relationships is the key to having healthy relationships.
That's good.
And no one is an island. So we need people. You need somebody.
Right.
You need people. The listener that's listening, you need people in your life. What you want to accomplish takes someone to help you, to facilitate, to support you, to affirm you, etc.
Right.
So we must begin to look at relationships in general from a different angle, and try to mend the hurts, mend the disappointments, try to negotiate our way through that, where we can start afresh.
For right now, you can reach us at team@uncoveredpodcast.org. Again, that's team@uncoveredpodcast.org. Remember, the only way to live is uncovered in marriage and relationships. God bless you, and thank you for listening.
Feeling, baby, no cap. And you stay in the kitchen looking like a snack. But on the real, my life is bliss. And you my spicy uno, I put down that 6. All hands on deck, girl, you know I'm in. I'm gonna ride till I die, cause you know we gon' always be feeling good, just like we should, baby.